Recording in progress. What's up, bro?
You should tell me. Sorry about the delay. I was
Oh,
running
God. Well, I
around.
mean, we're actually right on time. I just woke up early and I got a little nap in the meantime. I'll get another nap afterwards. You know how this rolls. So
You
anything
have you
anything
have
new
the
in your
exact habits of a house pet.
I kind of do more than I care to admit. Hey, we our House of Representatives yesterday created what's called a freedom group. It's just some BS thing that we did nationally, and that's when the Klan gets three people together and acts like they're not the Klan.
Oh, like rebranding, but in a very horrible manner.
Freedom fries. Yeah, I know. It's just woo, we just got it here, buddy. What's new in your neck of the woods other than vanilla beans?
My neck of Do you know the entire house actually smells of vanilla beans? So I had to put them in a Ziploc bag and keep them so that they don't fucking because that's all I've been smelling, Sean. Like the other day,
Yeah,
I touched a few of them so that I can remove them and show you guys.
right,
And I washed my hand maybe like 10 times. And
right,
everywhere I was walking around in the city, I could smell them on me still. I was
right.
like, oh my God, these are either
Yeah,
really good or I'm starting to get a headache with the smell.
imagine being a fishmonger and you've got that 24/7. The guy that
I,
cuts up fish. So here's the thing. I guess that's why they put them in vodka. Is probably
Mhm.
to contain the smell within a bottle, but it makes excellent extract if you do it the right way.
Oh,
Just so
yeah.
you know. Just so you know. Anyway, I'm excited to see how that turns out. So we'll see when it all gets over here, over this away. So
Hell yeah.
I don't really have all that much new. We're into the state fair season, and for people that don't know what that is all over the United States. I always joke how Americans eat as if they have free health care.
Hmm.
State fair season is the time we eat as if we have free health care. And there are bingo cards for people that go to the state fair. You're looking for an ass tattoo, a misspelled tattoo, stuff like that.
The only thing that I actually was fascinated by was a fried Oreo that I once ate. Was that
It's
with you?
good.
Hmm.
Yeah, they are delicious. Here's the thing, all of that food is delicious because it sets off all of the right hits in your brain and your taste buds. No one, no one needs to eat this much fried dough. I mean, our bodies aren't designed for it. But once a
Hmm.
year, it's the thing.
A turkey
Cheers.
leg and a beer batter fried Snickers.
Right. Which, by the way, are delicious.
I
So
know.
somebody did deep fried butter one year down in Texas at one of theirs. So they freeze the butter.
Hmm.
And then so when you eat it, it just kind of leaks butter.
Nah,
I'm
that's
going to go
like
with a no on that one.
that's like eating a
So,
damp tissue paper.
right. Have you seen the guy running for vice president over here? His name is Walz,
Hmm.
Walz. And he shot a lot of video at state fairs before he was running for vice president. So his stuff is legit. It's
Hmm.
hilarious. He hasn't got the big meat on his stick acting like he likes it. And it always looks phallic. I mean, there's just no way to do it where it doesn't look bad. But that guy was pretty good. Did I tell you about the one he was in with his daughter?
Is that the one where his daughter is like, I'm vegetarian, and he's like, yeah, you can eat turkey. That's fine.
So it's turkey then. Right. And you should explain that to the 500 million people in your country that don't eat meat. And that right there is America. I mean, I hate to say it, but she's trying to do the right thing and just nobody even understands what it is. So you're going to have some turkey. Yeah.
Like the other day, I was talking to Alex about something, and he was like, "What do you have for lunch?" And I said, "Oh, I had like a piece of fish." And he was like, "Isn't that a vegetable?" I was like, "Just leave me alone."
Yeah. I don't know where it came from over here, but you know what it is most of us came from countries that were really poor. And
Hmm.
so, like, my dad was from Ireland. Their food was cabbage, carrots, and potatoes. And they might have a little meat to flavor the broth, but that was it. And that would be like a ham hock, some little piece of ham. There
Hmm.
wasn't any meat. You had to sell that. That's what you used to survive on.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds pretty legit. But the richer you get, you think, oh, I could, just eat steak every day, which I won't lie, I did as a teenager. I worked at a restaurant, and I said, at the end of the night, they're like, "What do you want to eat?" And I go, "What do you mean?" And they said, "Well, everybody gets to eat." And I was like, "Well, what do I get to have?" And I go, "Anything you want." And I said, "Can I have steak?" And they go, "Yeah." And I ate steak every night I worked for about a year and a half.
Isn't that full circle of prosperity and poverty, where in ancient times, if you were fat, they thought that you were prosperous. And now we've come full circle where the prosperous people now need to go to the gym and run indoors on a stationary thing.
Or
for
Ozempic.
hours.
We're back to Ozempic. So are you familiar with the weight loss drug and its byproduct drugs? So they're made in, I believe it's Denmark. It's a Danish company. And for some reason over here, our companies are able to buy it at cost from there, $10 a pill, and over here sell it for basically $75 a pill. But I mean, I think if you were going to stay on that, it might be nice to take a trip to Denmark and go see what's going on over there and see a doctor while you're there. I would.
Yeah.
And if you're going to spend that kind of money.
I was talking to a friend of mine who was giving me proper immigrant advice. He was like, just go to the UK and fall ill. They will have to treat you.
So I'm traveling internationally pretty soon, and I have to buy health insurance. At this age, I can't end up in the hospital in somebody else's hospital without health insurance. And so some of it was $500 for 2 weeks, and then the one that I do here is only $100 for 2 weeks somewhere else, because I guess the costs are so much cheaper in those other countries to pay.
I like that the healthcare thing, like they say, right? The highest percentage of Indian doctors and even Asian doctors are in Texas for the sole reason that they look at the numbers and they realize Texas has the most number of sick people that need treatment all the time, which meant that their practices would flourish in Texas.
Correct. And so what's really weird is they hate foreigners unless you're a doctor.
Yeah.
then they will tolerate it. It's so Texas, it's probably the Texas State Fair that causes all that. There is a pride down there in just eating food that's unhealthy. So the southern parts of the United States, they just fry everything. And it's more than likely because it was so hot, much like you guys. You just got to throw it in some hot oil to kill the bacteria. And over the years, they just refused to move towards a more Mediterranean diet. Yeah. I've had a banana and a peach and like a nut bar, not a granola bar, but one that's just almost all nuts today. And then I ate 2 eggs. Right. They'd look at me and go, "Pussy." We're the weirdest thing I've ever seen in America is when we were talking about climate change, and it became popular to add these pipes on your truck that blew black smoke.
I have people seen drive them, down the road, and then
no, it's not diesel. That's on purpose. And you push your gas enough, and it goes whoa, and it blows this black smoke. Yeah,
that is how we're fighting climate change, I'm guessing.
That is how we're accepting it, I think. Is when I look at stuff like that, I go, "Oh, we're all just going to die," because I can't change that idiot's mind. So let me ask you a question. I talked about this yesterday on our local podcast. What do you say to somebody now in America that's undecided about the presidential race?
See, I think it has to be dealt with the same way I want to deal with astrologers.
Because I look at it and go, so after the Harris speech at the convention, they had I believe we did talk about this. So they had a focus group of 10 people. Yeah. And 8 of them literally said they were for Harris. 1 was still for Trump, and the other one was still undecided. And you go, so we have watched Donald Trump on TV for 10 or 15 years. I've known about him ever since I used to do business in New York. So I've actually known about the guy for 40 years. We've never met. He doesn't know me. But I know of him. And Harris was the vice president for 3 years and a senator from California. So it isn't like there isn't any video. Like if you really at this point, what you're saying is, I don't want to tell you. You're not saying you're undecided. You're saying, I don't want to tell you whether I'm a racist or I'm voting for a black female because I think it's their time,
Yeah.
or I'm voting for a woman because I'm a woman. Which, if I'm female, I don't mind. If you're black, vote for your people. If you're Asian, vote for your people. That's the only way you're going to get represented. I am well represented, but nobody does anything for me. Does that make sense?
I know.
They all look like we're related, but they don't do stuff for me.
There's this literally, I don't know, I might be biased toward Harris, but then there's this adorable video of Chuck Schumer trying to give a speech, and it's Harris standing in the background talking to someone, and they're giggling till Schumer stops and turns around and asks them to keep quiet, because it just looks like a high school where she's laughing about something, and Schumer just stops and goes like, "Can you like tone it down?
Give me a minute." Right.
It just made it look like authentic.
Yeah.
Because this was like way before she even announced her presidency. It was like from 2 years ago or something, that video.
Well, I think with Joe's age, she didn't all of a sudden become this good of a speaker. She really wasn't that great before. She knew that the possibility of him dying, being incapacitated or something else was real, and be prepared for the job you might get.
Yep.
Gerald Ford, one of our old presidents, not known for being the brightest guy in the world, but he liked football a lot. We'll just leave that there. He said the only way a woman becomes president, he said, it's going to happen. He said, but they're going to be vice president and the president's going to die. And that's how you get the first one in. And I'm not sure this wasn't close to that.
This was close enough.
Right. Yeah. Isn't that crazy? I've got like the loudest truck in my parking lot. It's next door at the Sonic. Well, they do deliveries in the middle of the night because they're so busy. They can't do it during the day.
Yeah. I did eat Burger King, and I did think of Sonic the other day.
Yeah. Hey, of the two, Sonic is better. But Sonic employees don't eat this stuff at their workplace, just so you know. So at their headquarters, they have a private chef that makes all gourmet food and healthy food and all this other stuff. Yeah.
That is nice, when you realize that corporations do care about their employees eating healthy, but they're selling batshit crazy food.
Yes, I think that's the best answer. Yes. It's funny from just a food perspective, and I don't know why I'm on this today. I'm probably still hungry. But so most of that food, like if you buy it, and not just there, that somebody did an experiment with McDonald's, how long you could leave it out before it molded, like it doesn't mold.
Oh, yeah. I've seen that, where even mold is like, yeah, I'm not growing on that shit. Get me out of here.
Right. Yeah, get me away. Let those people eat it. I know, it's nuts. When you, with your dog, did you buy your dog expensive dog food or just normal?
It depends. There were times where a lot of time I actually ended up just making food for her because it was easier for me to do. Sean, I had that cool little pressure cooker, right? And I went full immigrant. So I would just
I still have it. It's right up there.
Yeah.
Literally right up on my shelf back over there. It's waiting for you. When I get my beans, you get your pressure cooker.
So I had to basically just go to Homeland, buy a couple of beef bones and like ground beef, and then vegetables and rice.
Right.
That was all.
That's dog food.
Yeah.
Right. Well, didn't you go to school in Edmond, so you smelled the dog food place when the wind was going your way?
I've actually visited that dog food place with Dan because they were one of his insurance clients.
Oh, a lot of money. And the employees do really well there. So just an average like laborer there makes about 40 to 50,000 a year, which is not enough to buy a nice house, but you buy a house.
Yeah, when you go there, it actually you'll think that you're walking into, I mean, if you hold your breath, you'll think that you're walking into a automobile manufacturing unit because all the cars in the parking lot look like really new and well kept because those are all the employees' cars because they get paid really well and good benefits and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, those kind of, it would never enter my mind to go there and apply for a job. Like it just wouldn't enter my mind. It's a dog food place. So I like building cars here. You can make good money. I don't know how long your body holds out, seeing as it was just Labor Day. Let's talk about this. So when I was in construction, you were using your body 8 hours a day for the job. So the labor isn't money is not for what you earn then. It's for what you have to pay later.
Oh, I never thought of it that way. It's basically all the depreciation on your body from picking up and moving shit.
Correct. Right. And so people that don't understand that do non-union work, and they don't have anybody negotiating for them that sees it that way. And you as an owner, I would go in and go, look, I know you think this is too much money, but when they're 60 or 65, they've got to have some pension or something coming in because they won't be able to walk.
Oh, yeah.
You know, from doing this with a forklift all day. Or, you know, my deal was I cut apart airplanes with a steel saw and wore no mask. And so aluminum particles and aluminum flour from the blades were just in the air the whole time.
Is this
what
where
could go wrong?
Say it was the 80s, everything went fine?
I know. Jeez.
So in the 80s where people smoked in cars, there were no seatbelts. Kids.
And weed was the biggest drug you could find. How scary is that? That was the worst. You go to 5 years to jail for having that shit. Hey, I know we got a little bit of time, so let's talk about the Reagan movie, which I did waste 4 hours of my time on Sunday. So
do you know I haven't watched it yet?
Well, you're not missing anything. So it was, I know what propaganda looks like, and you know what propaganda looks like. In biblical propaganda videos, it's always boom, 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 like, you know, the opening of the heavens or the opening into hell. And political ones always have this weird patriotic music that we stole from England. It's not even ours. It is literally not ours, playing in the background. And this was, they had a Russian person that was not Russian narrate the whole thing.
Oh, wow.
As if he was the greatest guy ever. And you go, really? He was an actor that could say what you thought way better than you. Yeah, it was interesting.
He was the first movie star, right? To get into like such a high office.
And what he proved to everybody is, and I don't know what his real beliefs were. I mean, I don't. In there, you know, they made him out to be uber Christian for whatever that is. And but then if you're bringing cocaine back here and selling it and buying weapons and giving it back to people that are killing poor people, I don't know much about this Jesus guy, but I think he'd be against that.
Yeah, pretty much.
might be against some of the things I heard he said, you know. So
speaking about your Christian beliefs and stuff, Sean, in Oklahoma and the US in general,
or lack thereof.
The other day, someone in the audience asked me like one place that I wish I'd been to, but I've never actually been to in America. And I told him there's a place called Williamstown or whatever in Kentucky where they have the Ark. I wanted to go see that piece of shit.
Okay, you know, it flooded and he had to sue his insurance company.
What?
Yeah.
Sean,
I wish I was kidding.
Ark, by definition, is supposed to float on water.
40 days, 40 nights. Right. Oh, I know the story. I had 12 years of Catholic school. So if somebody asked me that, I wouldn't say in America. I would like to, and I think I get to see this shortly. I would like to walk the footsteps of where some of these guys were originally preaching that got put to death and see, because their DNA is there. You're not taking that in and going, oh, I'm getting it. I just want to see what they were really up against. And when they were talking at the market, what does the market mean? How big is the market? Or were you just a lunatic on the side going, I've got this idea of a new God. I know you've got your gods and Rome has their gods, but I've got an idea of a new God. And for 1995, I mean, how do you sell that? How do you sell that? Knowing full well that Rome were brilliant at selling religion. Hence, there might be a church there that everyone's familiar with. What is the church?
Begins with a V, maybe?
I think so. Victoria? Go ahead.
The weird part about the Ark thing was I actually know really detailed descriptions of that Ark. Because there was a news story.
What podcast were you listening to at 3 a.m., Deepak? Let's be honest.
There was a news story where John Oliver covered them for a bit because they weren't allowing people who were gay to be employed there or something like that. It was something weird. It didn't come as a surprise at all.
Did they think they were needed to populate?
I have no idea what the hell was going on.
Are they familiar with China and India? We're full. We got enough people. Us Americans are lagging behind.
So basically, I was talking about this arc thing, and I gave them a really detailed description of it. And I was like, yeah, that would be where I would go, but you probably have to give me a concussion for me to go there anyway.
Right. So the thing is, I need to be careful of this without getting myself into a lot of trouble. Mm-hmm. I go to places like that to see who goes to places like that. Like, I am going to go specific places here in a couple of weeks just to see who still shows up.
Do you know Alex used to always make fun of me about me going to weird places in Oklahoma?
Oh, but you were great to travel with because you'd go anywhere too.
Yeah, but he used to always ask me, he was like, do you just treat all these places that you don't like but still go to like you're just at a zoo watching all these other people going like, what are they doing here?
I would hesitate to say a zoo because people would get me in print saying that. But I do like to people watch through a window. I mean, I people watch every night. I study people every night. I find them fascinating. So I went to go get my hair cut yesterday and just in casual conversation with the lady, she's like, well, you know, I would like to go walk the steps of whatever apostle it was that walked through Europe. And I truthfully, I Googled it a couple of times. I got nowhere, and then I had to get back to work. But I said, are you talking about the Camino in Spain? I know people that have done that. I've always wanted to do it, but I'm too old and my knee won't work well enough for it. She says, no, not that. It's you know, and it's probably through Greece and Turkey and stuff. It's really probably not through Europe because that, you know, the mainstay was the Roman Empire and they were all over down there. But I said, well, you should do that. And I said, but as a female, you know, don't go alone over there. You know, you're sleeping outside in the dust. Something might pick you up.
Yeah.
I mean, at that point. Yeah. And trespassing might be a death sentence over there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You really don't know the lay of the land at that point.
Well, and you have no idea what the actual real customs are. And you think you're being a good Christian and you know, they're persecuting me because I'm a Christian. You go, no, you broke the law. And they mean it when they say everyone else has to follow the law but them. They mean it.
Sean, speaking about your haircut, right? Every time I've got a haircut in Oklahoma and Alex had to pick me up, I would get into the car and the first thing he would ask me was, please tell me that you asked them for this and they didn't just do this. I'm like, he was like, let me go in there and I want to know whether they actually understood your accent because this is, give me their Yelp page.
So what I was trying to do is I need it short. I'm going to be in some hot weather. So I'm just doing that. I was not trying to get the you know, the Central European cut, we'll just call it. But it does kind of have that look.
That is true.
I know.
I was like, what is it reminding me of?
So every time I get my hair cut, they put the black cape around me, and I look in the mirror and I go, God, I really just do look like a priest. I mean, it is scary.
I know.
Scary how much I look, and not just in the costume. I mean, like real life. Now that I'm old, real life guy. I almost have the disappointment and the dismay in society that characterizes the average 70-year-old priest.
Like a completely jaded priest who has tried all his life to get humanity on the right path and now has just given up.
Right. It is the worst of times, said anybody ever. Well, I haven't really, I'm trying to think if I've had any really good stories here at the pub and Vito's and it's kind of, you know, everything's kind of calmed down. So it's, you know, we just work. It's just not that exciting. You do know I have 2 roommates now in my house, right?
I know about one. Who's the other one?
Right. Tom, the waiter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he moves out in a couple of weeks, but Tom's been on and off with me for, you know, 6 months or so.
Nice. Must be fun.
It's they're on the opposite side of the house, so I don't ever see anybody. I'm good with it. James and I will run into each other at the kitchen table. That's about it.
Nice. This is basically like old school.
I am good with it. Right. Yeah, I know. I feel like I'm in college, except I'm old.
Was it you who used to have that idea where we try to house veterans?
Yeah, because they will take care of each other.
Hmm.
And I believe I've got the experiment started.
Yeah, you were the one who were talking to me, right? About giving
Yeah.
them bunk beds and keeping
So
them like at least housed.
right. So my
Mm.
my specific house could easily house 8 adult males. Now that's against the law in the village. You're only allowed to have 4 people with different last names in the same house. And they
Wow,
do that. So
I lived in the
you don't,
village for like 4 years and I didn't know that there was a rule.
right. Well, I only knew because I was on city council.
Mhm.
I mean, there's tons of rules. You find them out the hard way. Now, legally, I don't think they can really follow through with that because we have a lot of sober houses in the village where people live together that are quitting, doing drugs and drinking and stuff. So I think that's what you'd point to legally to go, hey, if you allow all those, you got to allow me. Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm still not against doing it. My kids are still a little uncomfortable with the whole thing. Like Angelina's like, man, that's just weird. And I go, well, it's weird because it's your room. But outside
Yeah.
of that, I mean, this is how people live all over. No one would, where on earth in Europe would a single guy live by himself in a 4-bedroom, multiple bath house?
Oh, not in
I
Europe for
mean,
sure.
just no. Nobody would waste that space. They would say, hey,
Mhm.
Grandpa, we've got a bed in the shed out here for you.
But that's the weird part, right? Even student housing in like other countries is basically like people who have their kids moved out, where the foreign
Right.
national students just come and stay with them. And
Right.
they take care of you better than like any other place would because their kids are not there and they love cooking and like helping
Yeah.
you out.
Well, they still want to do things for people. I still,
Mm.
oddly enough, miss that, and kind of. I'm not against doing the foreign national thing eventually, but as a 60-year-old male, I think it looks a little weird. If you're
Mm.
female, no one thinks anything of it whatsoever. But as a 60-year-old male, maybe they think you're trying to, yeah, it's something
There's
weird.
this famous quote by one comedian who says, like, tells the media, like, to stop covering all these weird stories about pedophiles and all of that because guys, you're making it odd for all of us out here because this was just normal before and now you'll
Yeah.
just creep the fuck out of all of us.
So you ever watched a comedian that goes, when I was young, nobody watched me, and I had to learn the hard way how to, these predators were I mean, they just were. They were everywhere,
Mhm.
and it was our job to just kick the shit out of them and make them move on
Yeah.
because we didn't know what other option there was because obviously they never got arrested. So loco, baby, loco.
Mhm.
So what are you guys hearing in your news? Because remember, I was the one that told that India was the one that covered Donald Trump's his
Mhm.
frozen
When he
speech thing.
froze on stage. Hmm.
Yeah, never covered here still.
Hmm. The
And
weird
how is
part
that
is
possible?
like, I think like our news channels are quite different. Like some of them are like bought by the state type thing.
Yeah. Oh,
I can't even mention their names. That's how weird it
right,
is. But the thing
right,
is that BBC and CNN India do a good job, a fairly decent
right.
job, where they cover all the international stories well as the local stories.
Huh.
And
Dang. Well, you guys did it, and we didn't do it, and I'm not sure what to think of all that. But pretty
mm,
strange. I just think it's weird because they harped on Joe Biden for so long. But what people don't understand is when you're talking to reporters and you keep repeating kind of the same line of stories, eventually it sounds interesting because you figured out how to say it.
yeah,
So it's interesting because initially you're like, that's not a story, man. You're going to make me look like I'm making fun of old people. But then you persist and you've had people sell you stories before. And I believe most of the time they're good. I had a guy call me on one of my coach stories over near Arkansas, and he's a
mhm,
news guy from inside the state of Arkansas. And he goes, "Hey, we know a whole bunch of the same people. You want to talk? I need to see if I can get anybody on camera." And I said, "Nobody will go on camera in small towns. They'll get ostracized or thrown out of town or run out of town or they'll burn their house down." I said, "You just
yeah.
can't do it." Yeah,
Hmm.
I know. Isn't that crazy? Yeah, that's the legitimate worry.
You would think that we've moved past all of that, but I guess ultimately we all just circle back.
Right. I don't know. What I would say is racism in America seemed like it was better hidden. And then this group brought it out where it was okay to be out in public again.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And that sucks.
I do have this joke where I call it reverse racism, where Alex was walking in front of me out of Sam's Club, and they checked his receipt, and they didn't check mine and waved me through. And I was like, how dare you? I can steal shit as well.
I can steal shit just as good as him. Well, so Sam's now has a deal at the door. They don't even check your shit half the time. I don't even know what that's about. Because what I would do is when they ask to check my stuff, I go, hey, where's the coffee? And they'd go, what? And I go, well, I had to ring out my own stuff. I work here. Where's the free coffee? And no one ever thought it was funny, but I think there's a bit to be had there. I really do.
Can I tell you, Bill Burr actually has a bit on this, where how you go into a sandwich store and you order for like a sandwich, you're like bacon, lettuce, cheese, and some mayo. And the guy is like, all right, bacon, lettuce, cheese. And Bill's like, mayo? And he's like, the mayo's over there. So Bill goes like, so why don't you fucking go there and get it for me? Guy who ordered the sandwich, guy who makes the sandwich.
Yeah. Not how it works. Not how it works. You know, when they first opened, they were real big on putting their carts back in a place so they didn't have to have somebody work the parking lot. And I still remember it, and I was like, you know, for somebody like me that's a business owner, this is pretty good. But the average person just doesn't give a shit. I mean, like they just leave everything everywhere and figure somebody's getting paid to come clean it up. And
like I used to feel bad for those guys, especially like in the dead of winter when the entire parking lot is icy and there's one poor employee trying to gather all this because people didn't want to walk in the cold and put it back in the right spot.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Aldi solved that by charging you a quarter. One quarter, they'll run it all the way back over the deal. Leave it to the Germans to come up with an idea.
Hell
One quarter. All right, brother, how are we at time-wise?
We're good, Tim. We're actually over 30 minutes.
I got to go get my bread out of the oven. My friend, it's good to see you. Tell your sister hello. Let's text back and forth on what we're going to do for next week. I'm a little bit north, and then I'm in the breadbasket of democracy.
All right, Tim.
I'm going to walk Paul's Road.
Oh, my God. Go away.